If Zelensky came out tomorrow and said, "I want peace,"
what would happen?
What could happen? The truth is this: is that Zelensky is being controlled by the Pentagon. He's not being controlled by Ukrainian politicians.
That's a huge statement, big bro.
Well, the thing is, well, don't ask me. Yeah, ask Naftali Bennett. You understand? Don't ask me. Ask the plethora of people, real clever people. I'm clever than I am. I'm not clever at all. You look at academics like, for example, Professor John Mearsheimer. For example, Google him. Don't watch me. Stop this video. Click on Professor John Mearsheimer and hear what Professor John Mearsheimer has to say. It's actually quite shocking who and what Zelensky is and why he was placed in that position. Do I believe he even won that election? Actually, I don't. But we've had...
So now we're talking about corruption now.
Well, can I just say to you, it wasn't me, that said that Ukraine is the most corrupt nation in Europe. Yeah, that was the American Congress.
Over the last few days, numerous Ukrainian officials were fired from their posts or arrested after several faced allegations of corruption in the country's media. The accusations against them vary. Ukraine's acting Minister for Regional Development was arrested after the country's Anti-Corruption Bureau accused him of receiving over $400,000 in bribes. The country's Deputy Defense Minister stepped down from his post after revelations were made that his ministry was buying military provisions, including food for troops, at inflated prices. Then, President Zelensky's own Deputy Chief of Staff resigned after journalists revealed that he had acquired a habit of using expensive sports cars to travel around the country. This happened even as the country's economy was being decimated by Russian missiles. In total, several key ministers, 5 deputy ministers, and numerous regional governors and top officials have either been fired or asked to resign from their jobs in a matter of days. This scandal places Ukraine's long struggle with corruption in the spotlight. The fact is that the country has struggled with the corruption crisis since it became independent after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991.
So from 2016, they said it was the most corrupt nation in Europe.
Well, they're schizophrenic.
And now we're in 2023 and all of a sudden they're friends.
Well, they're schizophrenic, the Americans, because as I said to you, they've now removed the restriction on funding neo-Nazis. Isn't that interesting? But certainly from the time the West engineered the coup in 2014, and I think it was Yankovic, I remember quite rightly. As I said, I shouldn't be filming when I'm tired. But from the time you had that coup, from the time the EU tried to insert themselves once again in 2014, giving strength and succor to Nazis to continue and carry on their killing spree in the Russian-speaking areas, from the time Ukraine decided that they wanted to be members of NATO, literally putting Russian missiles on their border and threatening the security and the integrity of the Russian state, it's very, very difficult to see this man as anything more than a puppet. Because we all think in terms of the world of separate countries. The people who actually run and control this don't actually do that. Yeah, they think very, very differently, as I said, to what we think, to what we believe. Now, look, I said this earlier on, what the Russian objective is. They will have to do what Russia says, no matter what anyone tells you.
Ukraine will have to.
Ukraine will have to. Yeah, NATO
That's
will
not
have
what
to
we're
back
taught,
down.
though, bro. We're not shown that, though.
No, I understand that, but look, let me tell you, Macron, is drifting away.
Of France.
Yeah, Macron of France is drifting away. He has his own problems. He's drifting away, from this militaristic adventure, which is American and British led. Yeah, the Germans are furious, behind the scenes with America, least of all because Americans blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
I was coming to that.
They blew up.
That has been said. That it is
the Nord Stream 2
let me just
pipeline.
Say this.
Is this mine?
Yeah, that's yours.
Okay.
It has been said that one of the most non-spoken about, but one of the most heinous things that has happened in this modern day has been the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline.
Well, I can go further, and I can say it is the greatest ecological disaster in the history of this world. And you'll see a video in a moment of President Biden threatening to do this 4 to 5 months before it actually occurred.
Thank you, Ms.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Now, look, it wasn't me that said it. You know, people can say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Look, it wasn't me that said it. It was Seymour Hersh that said it. It was John Mearsheimer.
Who is Seymour Hersh?
Seymour Hersh was the investigative reporter who broke the story that led to the fall of Richard Nixon. I think it was 73, if my mind serves me correctly. And the corruption and the lies and the deceit at the heart of that administration. And he brought him down by uncovering what was going on within the Nixon administration. It was Seymour Hersh that used all of these contacts within the intelligence agency circles, within the Pentagon, within the military, and so on and so forth, and gave a very accurate description of what he says has happened. So I don't want you to think that it's me who is saying this in their conspiracy theories. There are people, as I said, far brighter than I could ever wish to be, who have looked at this, they've investigated it, and this is what's happened. Now, the Germans know what's happened. The Germans invested billions along with Russia in building that pipeline from up in...
So can we describe what it is? What is the Nord Stream pipeline?
Right, the new pipeline that runs from the outer regions of Russia through Russia into Germany. And Germany had invested a great deal of monies, along with the majority of the monies from the Russians. Essentially, it was that pipeline that guaranteed keeping gas prices down and the German people warm during the winter.
Right.
Yeah. In the greatest act of ecological terrorism ever committed on this planet Earth, yeah, Joe Biden gave permission, yeah, for that to be destroyed. Now look, if acts of terrorism...
Have they admitted it?
Well, no.
Have America admitted blowing up that pipeline?
Look, let me just say to you, it doesn't matter whether they've admitted it or not. We're involved in a propaganda war. And like most wars, it will take many years for the truth to actually come out. There are things which are coming out now about 9/11, which is 20 years later, that couldn't have been said at that particular time.
Yeah.
And so the point that I'm making is, it's quite clear. Joe Biden made clear, not me, Joe Biden, let's be here, Joe Biden made clear that this was going to happen, and it happened. And the thing is that the amount of propaganda that was spewed out, it was the Russians that did it in an act of whatever you want to call it. Absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Russia is in a fight for its very survival as a sovereign state, because we know that the Americans, you can call it NATO if you wish, but the Americans want Russia to be broken up into 3 or possibly 4 different states, so weakening them on the global
that
stage.
they can control.
So they can control. As I said, there was a time, especially after 1991 with the breakup of the USSR, that America was the sole superpower on this earth. They are no longer the sole superpower. You have China, which is a peer competitor from an industrial, militaristic, financial viewpoint. America doesn't like this, and so now you have stories in the paper that China is a threat to the world, and we've got to deal with China. And look what China are doing in the southern China Sea, and so on and so forth. And they've got the Filipinos riled up, and the Japanese riled up, and the Australians are all riled up. This is a very deliberate policy of the Americans, where they use their friends in the media, in the legacy media, in order to push a narrative when they are seeking to construct a narrative around a forthcoming conflict. We saw this with Saddam Hussein.
Yeah,
we saw this with Saddam Hussein. They won't tell you that they created Saddam Hussein. They put him in power in 1968 when he was just an ordinary member of the Ba'ath Party. They put him in power.
Well, in my experience with America, when it comes to CIA and FBI and the secret services, they put people in power, and then once those people in power go against them, the British do the same. They find a way in which to get rid of them. So if we talk about Patrice Lumumba, right, they got rid of Patrice Lumumba. If we talk about Thomas Sankara, they got rid of Thomas Sankara.
Absolutely.
If you look at even Zimbabwe, what's his name now? What have I forgotten?
Mugabe.
Mugabe.
Yeah.
And we look at what happened with the Queen, with Robert Mugabe, and how he was Sir Robert Mugabe initially, and then once he went against them, all of a sudden he was a dictator and he was a despot and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like you said, a modus operandi. For a lot of these, I guess, European nations. I recently put on my channel a snippet of Ankira Chimborikwo. And she was speaking about France and what France was doing to French countries within Africa. European nations seem to have a modus operandi when it comes to anyone that, I guess, goes against what they want.